So as we've been talking about our pursuit of happiness in Indigenous view, one of the things that we focus on is the continuation of traditional culture. And in this particular exhibit, we're looking at the continuation of the art or cultural experience of making pottery. In our communities, we often get clay from the riverbeds or from the areas in which we get cranberries, which are layered in soil and gravel where the glacial moraine happens after the glaciers receded. And people like Diosa Summers, who actually was an adopted aunt of mine, she was this amazing artist. By bloodline, she is Mississippi Band Choctaw, but she was adopted Narragansett, and she was an amazing potter. But what she did is she utilized her traditional skills of pottery and hand building, but then her own artistic creativity to represent art in multiple medias. And I love the way that she used feathers. This one gets really commented on a lot. The idea of incorporating traditional animal pieces like the leather and the feather work, and then of course contemporary beadwork into her artwork, which really is a great juxtaposition of the traditional style and the contemporary life. This one is really intriguing to me. We were talking earlier about food sovereignty and about seed sovereignty and the idea of collecting heirloom or traditional seeds, original seeds of corn and other crops that we grew. And so this is a seed pot, and it was used to store the seeds. Of course, this one has a modern day adaptation with all this beautiful beadwork. And Diosa was really unique. She had a unique color palette that she always used in her beadwork. And we have an amazing belt in our collection that has that same beadwork color palette. And so the holes were made just large enough in the top of the seed pot in order to drop them in to keep out any vermin, if you will, that might want to nibble on our seeds, and so that we would have them for the next year to grow our next crop. She also used her artistic interpretation to tell stories. In this case, she was talking about the ghost dance, which is of the Lakota people, but as Indigenous people, we're connected to these various things that have happened across this nation in our history. And she wanted to represent some of that history in this piece of pottery. And I think as contemporary artists, people are taking the time to let their art speak for the history, the culture, the traditions that have been passed down. And thinking about passing down traditions, Diosa passed down her artistic abilities and her educational knowledge to her children, one of which is depicted here, Brenda Hill, who is this amazing potter today. You can find her online and order her amazing pots. We have several pieces here that are from the private collection of Silver Moon LaRose and myself, Loren Spears, and you see the beautiful way in which she's inlaying wampum into her pottery, and she's using the incising and impressing and stamping along the rims of her pots that are showing traditional Eastern woodland designs, particular to her Tuscarora background through her father's family. And what I love is her designs here that represent this are also represented in these historic pots that are down below. These are shards from our collection that are hundreds, and in some cases might be getting closer to thousands of years old. And because they were found archaeologically, you can see the different kinds of stamping and incising that was used on these pots that were found here. Below that shows other ways that you can make the technique. So we put in stones and shells and of course modern wooden tools to represent some of the ways that we use. But we also would use carved antlers, nets and other textiles, wood and other scraping tools, and of course your own hands and your own fingernails and things of that nature to create this incising and dragging. It also could be plant life as well, like think of pine needles and how beautiful that would look. across some pottery.